business owner, entrepreneur, property investor, networking host. Flipping heck, is there nothing that my next guest cannot do? I am very honoured, privileged, lucky, happy to be able to introduce the next guest to you, who I also consider a dear friend. It is my wonderful colleague, Heather Littleton.
Hello, thank you very much.
There's no applause. Did we put applause in that? Yay, that's it. So Heather, I finally got you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So, as I said before, business owner. Now, you and I share a similar path here, because not only are you a business owner, but you are also a business owner with your husband.
That's right, yep.
So how's that going?
It's a process.
Like divorce.
Yeah, no, it's a process. So we started the business 5 years ago now, almost 6 actually. And that was through a redundancy. We decided to start a business in what my husband was already doing in the garage equipment sector. So we install, calibrate, service MOT bay equipment.
And what's the name of your business, just so we can put a little link below?
So it's ATEC Garage Equipment Services.
How'd you spell that so our editors know?
ATECH, ATEC.
ATEC.
Yeah, Garage Equipment Services.
You heard it here, folks. ATEC Garage Equipment Services. If you're looking for somebody to maintain and install garage equipment, give Heather, and her husband's name is?
James.
Heather and James a call. ATEC down below. Click the link. There we go. A little bit of a unabashed plug for you there.
Thank you very much. So yeah, we started this business because, we had a choice. We start a business or we find other employment. At the time I was on maternity leave. So I had a 3 or 4 month old baby at the time of this news. And we decided to make the leap and start this business. And, what could go wrong? We either had to, it would either work and great, that's cool, or it wouldn't. And my husband had to go find, another job doing what he already did. And I would go back to work probably a little bit sooner than I planned. But hey, like I said, 5-6 years later, it is going well.
Fantastic.
And yeah, for the first sort of few years, it was just very much us, husband and wife team. He's on the spanners. I'm doing your typical admin stuff, like most probably husband-wife relationship businesses start. But over the years, we have been, or I have been networking. I have met business coaches. We've started to have business coaching sort of in the earlier years of having the business. And with that guidance, started to see that what we had wasn't a business, it was more of a job that was just a bit
why was that paid. Why was it a job then? What's the difference between a job and a business then?
So as a business, a fully fledged business, we would have teams, we could probably go on holiday, and we know that it wouldn't all go to shit if we stopped working. Whereas we realised that we had a glorified job, and that meant that as soon as we wanted to take any time off, well, we couldn't.
That's a really important differentiator, that, isn't it? It's like, if you're a husband and wife team, spanners and admin, as you put it, and you say, look, we want to take the kids and go on holiday. What happens to the business if you go away for 2 weeks to Tenerife? Yeah.
It either pauses and you let customers down, or you don't actually stop working, and obviously the physical spanner side of it obviously stopped. That work could probably be rearranged, but the phones would still be ringing, the suppliers still needed paying, invoices still needed sending, and that wasn't much of a holiday. And I can remember we had a 2-week holiday, of which my husband did 2 days out of, and ended up going back to work because the customer demand was there, and we had to serve our customers. So yeah, like I said, after kind of lots of guidance and meeting lots of different people over the years, we started to realise that something had to change, and we started to focus on building a business that actually run without us. And we're not there, we're not 100% there. If we went away, it would work, but we'd still be a little bit like, stuff needs to be done.
Have you been away in the last sort of 12 months together without needing to worry?
Yeah, so we have been away, and we have, just about enjoyed our time away. We've had to do work. I think also when you become an entrepreneur, you start a business, it's almost like another baby. You still want to care for it, especially in the early years, and that's how we are currently. You know, we're very much like, oh, well, we want to do the work. You know, we want to see the growth, and we want to put that time in. So yeah, we're on a holiday, but actually we're still probably chipping away a little bit.
Okay.
Even when we don't necessarily need to.
But interestingly, you also recognise that in yourselves now, which is really quite important, isn't it? It's like, you know, there's I won't say problem, because I don't think that is a problem.
Not a problem, no.
But you recognise that there's another step that you need to take to sort of, it's like you said, it's like another baby. I think I agree with that. It's like when you let your child go to school by themselves for the very first time. You've been holding their hand, you've been telling them to cross the road for sort of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and then one day they go, actually, I want to go to school with my friend. Is that okay, Mum? And you're like, no, you can't do it. You'll die. Yeah. And then obviously they make it, and then another day they make it, and you know, for many more years they make it. But when do you think, obviously you have the trajectory of your business, when do you think it's going to be time to let go and let the baby sort of become a young person, if you like?
So I don't think it will be too long from now. There's definitely more that we've got to put in place, more systems, more processes, like documenting those processes, and then having the people to run them and carry them out. And, you know, I guess if we had an unlimited pot of money, then that could be done tomorrow, in theory. You know, you just make the right hires and then it will completely work without us. But that's not the case. You know, we've not got endless streams of income, funds to, you know, make those hires and sort of do the things that we need to do. But it's that process, isn't it, of right, we've got the salespeople, we've got the sales guy working with us now, we've got a couple of engineers on the road. That's then freeing up some of our time to then work a little bit more on the business and look at those next hires. So the next hires are, you know, marketeers. It might be somebody who's a little bit more admin based, who can do our job scheduling and, you know, maybe some bookkeeping and things like that. And actually, like, my role is something that I'm looking to replace sooner rather than later, because, you know, I still am doing a lot of that admin stuff.
Right.
And over the years, I've had people replace that role for me. So I've had bookkeepers come in and do the sort of financial elements of it. And then for various reasons, it's not worked out. And that's probably down to, you know, me not having those systems and processes in place and maybe not managing and guiding them to the best of my ability. But again, it's a learning curve. And I think businesses, like, nobody really teaches you how to do business, not unless you're going for, I don't know, an MBA or something like that. But even then it's
well, I mean, different. You know, on one of our other episodes, I was talking about that exact thing. So now, if you wish, you can go and study entrepreneurship at university. It's a 3-year degree, a bachelor's degree, full degree, or you can study a master's in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you blindly, what do you think if you were going to be Professor Heather?
Okay.
I would say, oh, Heather, you know, I really want to know about entrepreneurship. Can you teach me so I can get my degree in entrepreneurship? What would you expect would be on the curriculum if it were you that was in charge of it then? What would you put in? What would you want to teach me?
I guess looking at the big picture and, you know, setting those goals, where is it that you want to be, and then looking back at how you're going to get to there, who you're going to need to get there, how you're going to fund it, who's the first person, the second person that you need. Yeah. You know, there's various entrepreneurs, isn't there? You've got people that have literally been school dropouts and are now probably billionaires. And then you've got people who have got all of the professional background. They've got the GCSEs, the MVQs, the A-levels, the, you know, diplomas, whatever, the degrees. And they've also made it really well. So there's not a one-size-fits-all with entrepreneurship. So I think, if you're teaching it, well, it varies on the person for starters. And also you've got to argue that if I'm Professor Heather, what's my qualifications to say I can teach it? Have I actually walked the walk?
So that's a really interesting point, because, of course, lots of academics, they do work in businesses as consultants. They don't tend to own businesses, very many of them. But, like, what would you say, irrespective of industry, irrespective of, where you come from, what are the things that you think every entrepreneur should have in their arsenal of knowledge and skills? Like whether you were somebody who owned a factory in Belize, or if you are going out doing mechanical testing and installs, or whether you are doing business coaching, what should an entrepreneur have as their basic sort of, this is your foundation level, do you think?
I think financial knowledge is very key. And actually my financial knowledge and understanding and elevation has been a massive part of our business growth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we can touch on that later if you would like. So yeah, financial knowledge, marketing, sales, knowing how to sell and close a deal, whatever that deal may be. I think they're probably the three things. And management, managing people, because at the end of the day, business has got to, if you want a business that's going to work without you, you're going to have people.
Yeah.
So knowing how to manage them.
Yeah. And I suppose lead them as well.
Lead them, yeah. Absolutely. Guide them, show them the North Star.
Yeah.
Where is it we're all heading? Inspire,
Stop! Before you go any further, if you're enjoying this content, remember to give us a subscribe, a like, a follow, or a share. Every single person that clicks on those buttons, it means the world to us, because it helps us reach more people and get people educated in how to get wealth the lazy way. So I don't know how you found it, like my experience as an entrepreneur, like sometimes or I certainly have had a vision for what I want to achieve, and not everybody has been able to share that vision with me. And because I get very passionate about it, I might skip over lots of the details. Oh, we're going to do this thing. And everyone looks at me and go, are you crazy? Why are we going to do this thing? Have you ever had one of those moments? And if so, like, what was that like?
Yes and no. I guess like a financial vision it's one of those ones, isn't it? You sort of go, oh yeah, I want to make multiple millions.
Right.
And I'm very much a normal person from a normal family, single parents, very basic wage, that sort of thing, growing up in a normal place.
Yeah.
So and same for my husband. And so to say, we're going to make multiple millions of pounds.
Yeah.
It's like, what, really? How?
What, us? Just little old
I
us?
can't picture that at all.
Right.
Now, we aren't making multiple £1 million, full disclosure. That's not where we're at just yet.
Always good to be honest. I love that.
No, 100%. I don't want to give anybody the illusion that we are, ridiculously wealthy or anything like that, because it's really not the case yet.
I love that part. That's the most important thing that we haven't talked about. Entrepreneur's vision. We're not there, ... yet.
Yeah,
and that's a really important thing that we need to examine in detail later on, because the yet part is what drives us. Yeah. We're not there. We're not there. No, we're just not there yet.
Absolutely, yeah. So, if you turned around and said to us, sitting in our spare bedroom with our wallpaper that had, I think, butterflies on, it was literally just our spare bedroom in our rented house. So it was whatever was there. If you'd said to us when we sat in that room, setting up the business on company's house, setting up the company and then choosing the email address and all the rest of it, that in 5 years' time we were going to turn over £500,000.
Wow.
I would have said, no,
no one's going to give me £500,000 quid, right?
What the hell are you on about?
Who's going to give me £500,000 quid? No, don't be stupid. Yeah.
No. And that's what we've done in the past year, which has been incredible.
Fantastic.
And, we just wouldn't have believed that. So we still have that struggle of to say, right, well, in 5 years' time, we're going to turn over 5 million or whatever the figure might be. And that's still really hard to believe. But I have to remind myself that if we'd said that 5 years ago about the £500,000, that would be different.
Wouldn't have happened.
And I think actually in the 5, almost 6 years that we've been going, there's probably maybe £2 million, £2.5 million that's actually gone through the bank. Over that time from all of the years worth of turnover, which is just incredible, crazy. I can't
from where you started, right?
Yeah.
If somebody said to you,
£4,000 redundancy in a van.
Yeah, you are going to trickle through your hands £2 million within the next 5 years. If I'd have said that to you at the very start,
No, I wouldn't have believed you.
No, it's just I can see your body language like, no, that would not happen, mate. No, one's going to give me 2 million
30
quid.
grand in a year would be fine. You know?
Yeah. But here we are, £500,000 in this financial year.
So the financial year that's just finished, yeah.
So in the end of the financial year, I'm assuming same or better this year?
We aim to double it, yeah.
Double.
So we doubled in the past year.
Oh, wow.
And we aim to double it again this year.
So it's going to be a 7-figure business by the end of this financial year.
Crossing my fingers.
No, don't need to cross your fingers. You're just going to dream, believe, achieve, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it is possible. And, when you look at something logically, you go, right, well, this is what we did last year. We doubled it because we've now got the salesperson. We've now got 2 engineers on the road. If we get another salesperson, we also add in a marketing arm because we don't market, by the way. Like, we're all referral.
That's a great form of marketing, though.
Yeah, it is
word of mouth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But we don't actively seek new leads. We're not even getting the most out of our current customers in terms of their entire value. We do probably a small portion of what is possible.
Yeah.
So once we really start to focus on those marketing strategies, we get another salesperson potentially. We streamline things even more, and we get more engineers on the road. To double again is actually more than reasonable.
Very reasonable, yeah. And scalable, right? I mean, you're not talking about hiring an army of people. You're talking about 3 people, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe 4.
Yeah. So we're a team of 5 at the minute. So within the next year, I would expect to have at least 1 engineer as a minimum, more to the team. And then, somebody who is doing marketing, whether they are a virtual assistant, a virtual marketer, or somebody employed. I'm not quite sure on that one yet, but there's definitely room to grow there. And that's great.
I mean, a £500,000 turnover business is no small feat. I've been there myself. I know the amount of work and effort that goes into doing that. I've had a business at its peak turning over £250,000 with a profit of £30,000, right? And that was at the very peak of the business before it declined and eventually, unfortunately, was made insolvent. So, you surpass that with your sort of first go, really, What lessons, if you could go back to 5 years previous, Heather and James, what advice would you give those guys now with what 5 years ago, if they were to come into your life as a business coach, Heather and James 5 years in the future, what would you tell those people 5 years ago?
Get out of your own way.
Wow.
Confidence is a massive thing. I'm not naturally confident. I'm not naturally extrovert. I would say I'm quite happy just blending in to the background. With
that fiery red hair.
Yeah, well, this is definitely part of the marketing, the brand.
Amazing.
No, but yeah, I used to be a hairdresser, so I've had lots of different hair colours over the year, and this is the most bright, with that being the most crazy. If that makes sense.
Not outraged. So it's not like
it's not pink. It's not
blue,
glowing. Yeah,
not purple.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's where that comes from. But yeah, getting out of our own way and just accepting that we're good at what we do, and we can tell people that, and to put ourselves out there and to seek that guidance sooner. And just push forward with it, which I know is it's the most. It's the annoying advice, because it's the advice that everybody gives, but it's the advice that's
still
so
solid.
True.
Still solid, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, one of the things I think about regularly, I'm a business coach. I give people coaching advice all the time. Lots of people, when they start out, they don't see the value in business coaching. They just see it as another expense that they don't really need or want. Would you agree with that it's something you don't need or want, or would you have a different view?
So I think it depends on your coach, for starters. So I definitely see value in business coaching. And actually I did from pretty much the beginning. As soon as I knew it was a thing in existence, I was involved. And I had a business coach. I think we were probably about 18 months into the business when we got our first business coach. And they found us. They had a marketing approach, direct mail approach, which like totally hooked me. I was like, wow, like who are these guys?
You'll have to give me their number. That sounds great.
And yeah, like obviously they had a process of, acquiring me as a customer, and that process evidently worked. And I could see value in the fact that their process evidently worked.
Show me your process, right?
Show me your process.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did a great job of guiding me at the beginning. The issue for me in the beginning was we'd come on board as delegates for these coaches as a partnership, but of course James was really busy, on the tools, and so he actually didn't really have the time for it. So he couldn't see the value in it because he wasn't really involved at this point.
Right.
And at that time in business, excuse me, I wasn't involved enough to make a difference, if that makes sense. So, I had this guidance, but I still wasn't sure what I could bring to the table. I had a little baby in my arms. You've got to remember, I'm on
you're
maternity
busy.
leave.
You're being a mum, right?
Yeah, with my first child.
Right.
And I wanted to be a part of her upbringing, as we all do, I'm sure. But, I did definitely want to be there and not be consumed by other things. I wanted to spend that time. So it's not like I could be constantly making sales calls or anything like that. And I definitely didn't know the equipment or the services we provided in enough detail to be able to confidently do that.
Yeah.
Now, with the help of a business coach, I, started to build up a little bit of confidence around that, and I started a marketing ploy. So the direct mail that they did with me, I started to do. It worked. We got some good customers out of it, and some big sort of sales, which was great. And I continued that for quite a long while. And they was really encouraging me to start networking. But again, it was that whole confidence piece of, well, what am I doing in a networking event? Like, hi, I'm Heather. I sell garage equipment. I service, I don't know. What else was I going to say? So it took me 2 years before I went to my first ever networking event.
Wow. 2 years.
Yeah. And admittedly, that was an event that they was running.
Right.
So I felt safe. Because I
that's
knew
good.
people there.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of advice, if you're going to your first networking event, go with somebody that you know, or if you know there's going to be people there that you know, because it does help with that.
It's really good advice.
Yeah. Some people are really confident in networking, and that's fine, but it's not for everybody. And it wasn't, and still kind of isn't for me, which is ironic because I now run a networking event, which I'm sure we'll cover a little bit later. But yeah, that guidance really, really helped. And although at the time it didn't feel like I was really getting anywhere with it, if I look back, hindsight's a great thing and all that, it really did help Jet Propel where I am now and doing the things that I'm doing now. So
could you put a monetary value on it if you had to, if someone was, putting the thumb screws on you, getting that coach?
Well, it's £500,000.
That's you directly attribute the whole thing.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's not like we went and had a business coach and that equaled we got £500,000, because that's not strictly true. But it's all a ripple effect, isn't it? This thing caused that thing, which caused that thing, which caused this.
But do you think you would be, if you were still trading without the business coach now? So we remove the business coach from your experiences. Mm-hmm. And it's just you and James running the business on your own, doing what you both believe is right. Where do you think today you would be, fast forward 5 years, without the help of a coach?
So we're not being coached right now. I still think we would be further along than we are. I think a coach will always help, definitely. Yeah. If we had a coach right now, we'd probably be excelling a lot quicker than we are. But then some of it's down to finances, some of it's still down to our own, things.
Get out your own way, as you
stuff
say.
Like that.
Yeah.
So mixed thoughts on it.
Okay.
If I'm completely honest, yeah.
That's great. That's what we want. It's not about say this right thing here. This is about, what's your experience, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So moving on to a slightly different topic, we didn't meet through garage maintenance and installation.
Nope. Last thing I remember, you don't have a garage. So.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I haven't added to the portfolio any garages yet, to use your line. So how did we meet?
We met through property, so
Right.
property networking.
Right, that networking
investing,
again.
Yeah. Progressive property is where I had sat a lot of training for getting into property investing, and I believe you've obviously done a fair bit with progressive yourself, and that is where we've met and now sort of doing multiple things.
Well, I mean, when you attend, I don't know how this was for you, so I'm going to ask you in just a second, but when I first started my property journey, I was in considerable debt.
Okay.
Tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt. It was about 45 grand's worth of debt. And I put another 2.5 grand on a credit card because I thought, what have I got to lose? Went to my first BRRR, which I talk about very positively to anybody who will listen. Joined the academy and started building my property portfolio that same year. It was later on that year. It was December 2022. And I have since that time, I teach and I still coach people with the exact same mentality as create a money factory, a business of any nature that you want that makes you money, something that makes you money, and then invest the money bags that it produces into assets.
Yeah.
Property is one asset. There are other asset classes, precious minerals, precious metals, art, jewelry, lots of other things. So that's been my sort of go-to philosophy now since 2022 because it's propelled my business, propelled my life experience. I'm retired now, which is great. When we met in property, just tell us a little bit about your journey in property from then until present day, and so we can understand what's been going on.
Yeah, so property for me has been a slower journey, and I'm happy to admit that. I found property through that networking event that I didn't want to go to.
Wow.
I met somebody who introduced themselves to me as an investor. And, again, they were a very normal looking person, with normal clothes, with normal hair and normal jewellery. And I thought, well, you look normal, so how are you doing?
How can you be an investor? What's going on, right?
Yeah, like my preconceived image of an investor was suits and boots, a Rolex and a snazzy car, all like this.
Wow, of which I am none.
No.
Fantastic.
And probably most of the investors I know aren't that person either.
Wow.
But, that's what TV and, you growing up, the stigmas and things like that portray.
So there's a stereotype that you've gained from other influencers to say this is an investor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So meeting that person, I thought, cool, you look normal. Is this something I can get involved in? Obviously, we've got this business. It's not making bags and bags of money at this point. I definitely didn't have money to go and start investing in property, but it sparked an interest. Yeah. And for me, property has always been an interest. I've lived in, I think, 16 houses in my entire life between split parents, moving around the country, and myself as an adult, just being in rentals and things like that. So, property is like this big thing in my life, and we've renovated houses over the years and things like that, and that's always been an interest. And from my hairdressing background, I'm a bit of a creative naturally, so I like to see transformation. So I was interested, is the point. And so I started Googling about it, obviously found Progressive, and started doing a few different events here and trainings. And I initially started to build up this rent-to-rent business. So acquiring a property from a landlord, taking away the hassle for them, and renting it out myself. And I went down the service.
So sorry, I just want to slow that down a little minute because some of our listeners might not have fully understood that. So you said it's called rent-to-rent.
Yeah.
So a property landlord, so someone who owns the property, will rent it out to you.
Yep.
So how do you make money from that if you're renting it from the landlord?
So typically I would rent it from them at a reduced rate than the market rent. And the reason they would be happy with that is because they wouldn't have to go and change the leaky tap when that was an issue, because I would take on all the maintenance. Right. They wouldn't have to deal with tenants because they wouldn't have any tenants. I'm the tenant as their commercial tenant.
Right.
And, it meant that they were sorted. They knew what they were getting rent-wise for 5 years. And I would then rent that out on Airbnb, Booking.com, all of the different...
So like short-term lets rather than tenancies?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Got it.
So that's what I started to do. And the reason I started to do that was because, you know, I found progressive property. I've found out about this thing, rent to rent. I thought, well, that sounds brilliant. And of course, I've got this business at home, you could say, that is just the two of us. And going back to that whole, I know that we've got a job. I know that we need some income to cover us if we want to go on holiday. So I thought, well, I'll start another business because that will supplement what we've already got. Now,
Makes sense.
Yeah, fast forward a little bit. Obviously, I realised that actually I should just grow the business I've already got.
Yeah, it's a really important point, that.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily need to go and start a whole new business. And I come to that realisation. So I got up to 3 properties on... 2 of them are on a rent-to-rent basis, and then one of them is on a lease option basis. So essentially rent-to-rent, but I have the option to purchase it at the end of that time.
Right.
And because of that realisation, I decided that actually, no, I do need to grow what I've already got, and there is so much potential there, so why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And then I don't have to deal with cleaners and people like that.
So when you're doing that, I mean, in essence, you don't want to be a magpie going after each new shiny thing. You're saying now, actually, what I should have done was just focus on growing my cash factory, my business, spending all my attention on that rather than deviating. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is fair to say. And I don't think there's anything wrong with me having the additional income stream. But for some people, they want to build up, you know, property is the vessel, so they want to build that up quickly, and people have done that very successfully, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for me, I realised that actually it's not my vessel that I'm going to build up really quickly because I've already got the cash.
You've got an investment. Yeah.
And actually, you know, property and the training that I've done has been a factor as to how I've managed to grow that business as well. You know, definitely from the things that I've learned, you know, from the property side of things, I've gone, well, actually,
it's transferable, right?
I can do X, Y, Z in that business, and it's going to help grow that. So yeah, so what I come to that realization, and I decided that actually one of the properties wasn't performing as well as I would have liked to make it worthwhile. So I made the decision to hand that one back to the landlord, and then another one was actually sold. So the landlord was selling. It was actually in a trust for her daughter, who once she turned 18, she would take possession of it, either live in it or sell it. That time came. We always knew that was going to be the case. It was actually my first deal. It was a really good deal. I'm really sad that I don't have it, to be honest with you. But, you know, these things happen. So I've actually got just the one property currently, and that is my lease option property.
Okay.
And that one ticks over nicely. And I am actually running that as a single let property now because I wanted to focus on the other business. And then, like you said, you build up the bags of money here, and then you go and invest it over here in property. So that's now my plan. Right. I am still looking to acquire properties through creative acquisition, so things like lease options, assisted sales, exchange with delayed completions, those sorts of things. I'm keen to help people in those situations where...
So what do these things mean then? Because some of our audiences might not have heard of an assisted sale before or a lease option sale. I mean, what does this mean? Treat me like a tourist. Take me on the tour.
So an assisted sale is where somebody is struggling to sell their property, probably because it's run down and tired, and they've got, you know, an estate agent that said, oh, yeah, you can sell it for all this money. And they're like, brilliant.
2 years later, still on the market.
It's still on the market. They've dropped it maybe 5% in price. And, you know, it needs so much work doing to it. And unfortunately, they've been sold the dream that they're going to sell all this money. But that estate agent didn't tell them that that's what it's worth once it's done up. So with an assisted sale, I would come in and I'd say, hey, look, you know, your property is worth that 100%. In fact, actually, it might be worth this even more. But it needs all this work doing to it. So why don't you let me come in with my team? We'll refurbish the property. We'll get it up to that higher value point, and then we'll sell it. And actually, you know, you can have everything up to that amount that you'd like. And then I want, you know, just my money out, you know, the cost to refurbish it. But then everything over that we can split in one way, shape or form, whether it's 50-50 split, whether it's, you know, 70-30, whatever. And that's where I then make the money. You by having that increased value and a share of that profit. But they're also managing to sell the property. I've solved their problem and should sell quite quickly then.
Okay, so that's an assisted sale.
That's an assisted sale, yeah.
What was the other one you mentioned?
So lease option or exchange with delayed completion.
Yeah, go on, lease option.
So a lease option is, like I said earlier, with a bit like rent to rent. So you're renting the property, you're leasing the property for X period of time, and then you have the option to purchase at the end for a pre-agreed price and over a pre-agreed time. So my property that I've got on a lease option is I've agreed £165,000 and I will purchase that in 3 years' time. And for now, I am paying a rent of £450.
Wow, that's good.
Which, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like...
And you've got a tenant in there who's paying you...
£875. So it's not bad.
That's not bad, yeah. I mean, obviously, you've still got maintenance, gas safety checks, electrical safety, and other sort of maintenance issues that might crop up. But ultimately, you're £400 a month in pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did a refurbishment on it when I took it on, and that's one of the reasons I managed to agree the deal, was because the landlord, the owner, they didn't need to sell it. They didn't need the money. They were only putting it on the market because the tenancy that they had come to an end. They were moving out, and they thought, you know what, I don't need this property, I'm just going to sell it. But a little bit like with the assisted sale situation, it wasn't really that great.
Needed a little bit of refurb.
A little bit of love, yeah. Needed a new bathroom.
Okay.
And carpets and stuff like that. But, so it needed a bit of love. And that was the conversation I had with them. I said, look, I can give you I can offer to pay, cash for it, but it's going to be a bit insulting, to be quite honest, because I've got these.
Because you've got all these overheads to build, yeah.
But if you like, you don't need the money right now. You've told me that. You're quite happy to stick it back on the rental market if you like. So why don't I just rent it for you for a period? I'll give you, what you want for it, but I'll give you that at a later point once, it's managed to make its own money, basically. And they're like, yeah, it's fine.
If I can I come back on that conversation? Because there's a lot of people, a lot of listeners out there who think there's only one way to get property, which is save up a deposit, whether it's buy to let or whether it's your own, save up 10%, save up 25%, get the property, find the tenants and all the rest of it, right? But you've managed to work some magic, some charm, spoken to a landlord. And interestingly, the landlord's pain point wasn't that they needed money. The landlord's pain point was they needed the house to be taken off their hands, not necessarily sold, just not my worry anymore, not my concern. You came along with a solution, which was, I will buy the house off you in 5 years or 3. Was it 3 years? Sorry.
3 years, yeah.
Within 3 years, 160.
I did offer 5 at first.
Okay.
That would have been even better, but yeah.
But they've said, yeah, okay. And I'm assuming you've got a contract in place with them or something that says, you're going to buy it off me in 3 years for 165 grand. But in the interim, you're responsible for maintaining the property. You've been responsible for refurbishing the property. And at the moment, you're getting the equivalent of roughly £400 a month from the current tenant. Yeah,
that's right, yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a great deal. How do I find a deal like that if I'm interested?
Conversations with people. I mean, this one was found through an agent, and people will typically tell you that it's really hard to find these kind of creative property deals through agents. And that is true to an extent. But once you've built up a really good relationship, particularly with independent agents, then they want to get them off their books just as much as you want to get deals.
So we're talking about estate agents?
Estate agents, estate agents. So in this case, this was through an estate agent that I'd managed to build up quite a good relationship with. And she could see the value in what I was offering. She didn't necessarily understand it, but she could see the value I was offering, and she could see that actually she was going to be able to sell this property probably a bit quicker than it might have been if it had gone to, the open market and all the rest of it. And that's how I managed to get this one. But, I've got business partners that are getting deals because they're just having conversations regularly with somebody in the pub, or neighbours, or, people have problems all the time.
So thinking about the estate agent then, how does the estate agent benefit from that deal? Because obviously you haven't bought the property yet.
That's right, yeah.
That's not for 3 years from when you made the original agreement. So what does the estate agent gain from this?
So I offered to cover her estate agent fees at the beginning. So
you front-loaded their fees?
Front-loaded the fees, yes, because, I want her to see the value in this as well.
So she's got £1,200 or £1,600 or whatever the fee was. I'm assuming it was like 1%, 1.2%.
Yeah, I think it was about 2.4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head.
I'm not going to do any estate agency deals in your neck of the woods. So where I live, it's 1% to 1.2%. You know, that's wow. Okay, that's a little bit higher.
But no, I offered to cover those up front.
Okay, so she's not out of pocket.
She's not out of pocket.
Landlord's happy.
Landlord's happy. Yeah.
You're happy. Tenant is happy.
Yeah.
So you got 4 wins there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. And then at the end of it, you've got the option to purchase, which is your 165.
Yeah.
And do you know what the value of that property is in today's market?
So in today's market, it's probably worth around 190.
Okay.
So already there's equity within the property.
So you've got 25K's worth of equity already in the property.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which means, I mean, I'm not going to do the maths right now because I'm definitely not that quick at maths. But essentially, I will have very little or no deposit to actually muster up when it comes to...
because you're going to use the equity as part of the purchase price, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
And obviously, it's making money every single month. So I'm not going out and spending that on holidays or nice handbags or whatever. I'm letting that sit up and
just accumulate.
Yeah.
So you're really putting the money to work for what your goal is. Are you going to use that money towards the deposit when you obviously make a decision to purchase? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because that's like $5,000 a year, 15 grand,
yeah,
roughly, without any maintenance fees. You know, I'm assuming, let's just say 15 grand for the time being. That's nice.
So yeah, it works out quite well that way. And I'm quite okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, even if I had to put some money in at that later stage, then it's an investment.
Yeah.
We put money into stocks and shares. That money's there.
Yeah.
So
and this is something you can see, touch, feel, taste, smell.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's there. You can't go and pay for your shopping with a house brick. But if I said to you, well,
God damn it.
in Liverpool, we use house bricks all the time to get what we want. We just throw them through the window, Oh, God, those nice people in Kirby. So obviously you've mentioned this property. Have you got any other properties in the pipeline, and what do they look like?
So I've had a few in the pipeline recently, and unfortunately, over sort of a course of a few months, they have not come to fruition.
Okay.
Most recently, working with my business partner on, business partners, should I say, on this one, I was actually coming in as the investor.
Okay.
And we had secured a property in Norfolk near Wisbech in a place called Wilton Highway. That was a large 5-bedroom detached property, which also had a bungalow on the same site, as well as an outbuilding, a dilapidated cow shed, and around 5 acres of land. So that was a property that, again, had been acquired creatively. I don't have all of the exact figures to hand because it was originally acquired by my business partners. Like I said, I was coming in as the investor on this one. But unfortunately, it fell through like literally the 11th hour. So
it's horrible when that happens because you've already got investment, emotional investment, time investment. You've probably got some lawyers involved at this stage, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of fees paid.
Surveys done.
Yeah, so unfortunately that one has very recently fallen through. And
what happened there? Is it okay to ask?
Yeah, I won't go into like super loads of detail.
Sure. Yeah.
Just because of confidentiality and things like that. But there was some delays in getting information from solicitors to lenders, and through kind of no fault of our own, unfortunately. And as a result, that meant that the lenders had some queries last minute, which then put delays on things. And then, so that's one part of the puzzle, I suppose you could say. And then the other part was the vendors had their mortgage offer expiring. And unfortunately, rather than sort of accepting that it wasn't going to get done by that point and just reapplying for the mortgage extension, or reapplying for the mortgage, I should say, they decided that no, it was all going to be done by that date, and it wasn't going to be done by that date. So they packed up their 5-bedroom house into multiple vans and moved out, putting extra pressures on and a lot of stress. And we was working through round the clock trying to get this done, pulling every single string possible, but with that extra pressure of them essentially being homeless, not literally, they had their home, they were out of it, and then there's still being delays with lender queries and things like that at the last minute, it was too much for them. And unfortunately, they did have a personal situation that happened as well, which just really layered it.
That sort of amplifies this problems now.
It massively, So we feel terrible for them, because it really wasn't a nice situation for them to be in as a whole. But equally, we did absolutely everything we could to get that one over the line, and some things just don't work out. And I guess the saying is like, a deal's not done until the deal's done, is it?
So you've got the keys in your hand. It's not a deal.
Yeah, and it is really, really disappointing, because it was a great situation. If it had worked out, it's a great situation for everybody. You talked about win, 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 and it very much was. We were going to win as investors and developers, but they were going to win because they were struggling to sell this house. I mean, it's massive, and it has such...
Have they sold the house since? Is it gone?
This is very recent. I'm talking like the school holidays that have just been recent. So
if you don't mind me asking, then again, without going into any detail that's going to breach any agreements you might have, like, could you not go back with a revision?
So we absolutely could, but I think because of the pressures that they felt and sort of the extremities of it all, they actually asked their solicitor to inform our solicitor not to contact them directly at the moment whilst they're processing.
Right.
And obviously we 100% respect that decision.
Of course.
So, we would love to go back to them and say, look, this didn't work out, and it's shit. It really is. It's shit for you. It's shit for us. We've lost a fair few £1,000s on this. So, we'd love to make it work again. But I think the wounds are a little bit too sore at the moment.
Yeah.
And,
and sometimes they can heal, though, can't they?
Yes.
The wounds can heal.
They do know where we are at the end of the day. They have our direct contacts, and should they want to revise that decision, then they absolutely can. And they are going to have to sell, because they're in a really large house with a really large garden and way too much maintenance for their personal circumstances.
Yeah, I get it.
Age, health, etc.
A lot of people are experiencing that now when they get into their 60s and 70s with a 5-acre garden to manage and maintain. What you going to do?
Yeah.
The kids don't want to come round. The grandkids aren't interested. Now you've got this great big piece of useless land in essence, haven't you? I get it. I really appreciate that story, because, for me, that demonstrates there are a lot of property training companies out there, and they talk about, you could make this many millions in property and this many thousands in property, and you could have this many portfolios, and they'll roll people out on the stage. I've been one of the people on the stage that's been rolled out, look at Carl, he's got this, he's got that, he's got the other. Obviously, you've just said, look at Heather, she's got this, she's got that, she's got the other. But do you think they give a fair reflection, a fair view of what it's like to be a property investor, what it's like to be a property business owner? Do you think it's fair what they do, or do you think it's tainted? What's your view?
I think mixed feelings.
Okay.
It's absolutely possible. I've seen people with my own eyes, make it really, really big. And I think it's down to the individual, but I think sometimes a little bit of lack of assessment of the individual, maybe. But it's hard, isn't it? Because you've got so many people coming through these doors of various different training companies, and you can't vet everybody to the hilt. Yeah.
So what I'm talking about is when they're promoting the training. When they're promoting the training, do you think they do enough to tell you about the potential downsides when they're promoting the training?
Sorry, I see. Again, yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, yes. I mean, they definitely do show and tell the downsides. Obviously, there's always a negative story or a situation where somebody's lost money, and the trainers that I know of have always been very open with that.
That's good.
How much work it's going to take, to get to the successful point that a lot of them are at, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly speaking.
That's why I'm asking the question, right? Because there are so many training providers pop up on social media, YouTube. I'm on Facebook constantly, as I'm sure you're aware, and I get bombarded with reels. Join this training company, join this training company, join this mastermind, join this retreat, come to this course for £1. And then, of course, there's always an upsell and so on and so forth. But I never really see the downside of property. So when I got my first property, which was in December 2022, I was meant to have an investor. The investor ghosted me.
Oh, no.
And it was a auction property, so time was ticking on. There's a commitment. And I had to go and get a bridge
Okay.
within 48 hours. That was it. I had 48 hours, get this bridge, because I didn't have the money to buy the property outright. And it was not an expensive property. It was like 46 grand.
Okay.
But I didn't have 46 grand.
Like a deposit where we
Yeah. This is a 2-bed terrace, right?
small deposit of that.
And luckily my lawyer, he knew a guy who owned a bridging company in our local area and said, look, he's a nice kid, nice young man, I think he called me. He's a nice young man. They're in a bit of a situation. And he said to our lawyer, he said, Tony, you know, we don't normally look at properties that sort of value. And he said, well, I know that you don't. I'm just sort of asking you. It's a first property. And he said, tell him to come and see me.
Okay.
And I went and I got the bridge, but I didn't know anything about rolled up interest because I've never done a bridge before. So when we came to complete, they were like, Carl, you're £6,500 short. And I was like, no, we're not. We've got all the money here. And they're like, yeah, you've not factored in the rolled up interest. So I had to go that night, 500 quid off each credit card. Times 6.
Yeah.
And then the next day, 2:00 in the morning, it was another 500 quid off the same credit card. So £1,000 off each credit card, because max is 500 quid you can draw out. And I had to pay them £6,000 in cash, which the solicitors wouldn't take. They're like, oh, we can't take that because it's cash. I said, well, how am I going to give it to you then? Because if I go to the bank, it won't clear in time.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of haggling and negotiation. Eventually they took it from us, you know, because we could prove where it came from. I had all the receipts and all that. Absolute nightmare. We got the property, and then my business partner at the time, lovely fella, but he wanted to do the refurbishment himself.
Okay.
So that took 5 months to do a refurb, whereas if we'd have had a builder do it, it would have cost us some money. But the build refurbishment would have been done in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So we lost a lot of opportunity in that. And at the time, mortgage rates were fluctuating. This was 2023.
Yeah.
So mortgage rates were going from sort of 4% to 7.5%, and they were fluctuating in between like that. I got a really bad deal in the end on this property from a mortgage perspective. But and my business partner actually asked me to buy him out in the end because he needed the money. So I had just this huge array of problems which nobody had prepared me for in my experience. That, I mean, it's great that I got that experience and I warn other people about these things now. But at the time, I was just like, I've got to get this property. I've got to get this property. Yeah. I spent all this money on property education. I think at the point, it's about £13,000 I'd spent on academies and trainings. So this isn't cheap, and going every month, hotels. So, you know, add another 4 or 5 grand on top of that and days lost and all the rest of it. So I'm counting here, you know, 20 grand. I need to get this property over the line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great property now. We've got great tenants and all the rest of it. But I wish I'd have known a little bit more when I started.
Yes, absolutely.
I wish I'd have been given those little cautionary, like an investor that ghosts you. How do you prepare for that? Have you ever had that experience? Or?
I haven't had that exact experience, but with the property we covered earlier, the 165,000 lease option, I actually cried when I got that deal, and not from happiness.
Oh, really?
Because I suddenly realised that I had to fund that estate agency fee that I said I'd cover.
She's £2.5 grand. Yeah.
The refurb cost.
Oh, yeah.
The legal fees, which weren't cheap to have the contract drawn, which you absolutely need. I imagined that I'd probably work with an investor on it, and partly probably because of my own confidence at the time, you know, asking for money, like, oh, can't do that. You know, sort of those things held me back, and I managed to fund it from the other business, and that's, like you said. So
your factory,
my cash factory managed to fund the refurb and things like that. So it wasn't like an impossible dire situation where. How
much was it, if you don't mind me asking?
What's that? Sorry.
The actual cost, the estate agent fees, the legal fees, the refurb fees, getting a tenant. Oh God.
So the obviously the estate agent fees was about 2,400, I think, off the top of my head. My refurb come in at around 18 grand, and the legal fees was about 4.
So you're looking at like 25 grand, roughly.
Yeah, which is why I said, you know, I probably will have to put some money in when it comes to it.
Yeah.
I've not been taking any money out of it currently, and I'm fine with that because, like I said, I don't need.
You've got your cash factory. Yeah.
It's very much a long-term strategy for me now, as opposed to I need to build this business that's my income.
But it's a lot of money to find, though, 25k, right? Especially up front with no guarantee of any payment.
Yeah, and it hurt. You know, it did hurt. Yes, we could fund it from the other business, but that was at a time where it was just two of us as well.
Yeah,
We hadn't quite got the other guys working for us yet.
Yeah.
Shortly after, I'm not sure how shortly after actually, but you know, sometime after we did, and suddenly it's like, oh, well, actually, that money back in the business would have been really helpful. And it wasn't. It was tied up in some bricks and some tiles and some carpet.
So you and James, obviously husband and wife team, did that cause any sort of friction at the time when you're like, oh, God, we could have used this money for hiring another salesperson, for example?
There's been lots of moments over the years where it's like, you know, money worries, you know, are we doing the right thing? Yeah, it causes issues sometimes, probably more often than I'd like to admit, but it's sort of part of it, and it's looking to the future. It is hard now, but it's not always going to be hard.
It's sort of sacrificing today for tomorrow, right?
Yeah, and I'm still trying to live in the now because, like I said, with my daughter, you know, I very much want to be
good dogs as well.
I've got two dogs. Yeah, I've got two German Shepherds, so I can't just leave them to do their own thing. Like they need some stimulation. They need to go for walks and, you know, all the rest of it. So, yeah, like I'm a busy person. I've got lots of things going on, and that can make home life, you know, more difficult than we'd like it to be. Yeah. But yeah.
Do you switch off? Do you get to switch off at home?
I choose to switch off. Yeah.
I love that. Just tick.
Yeah, no, I do. I feel guilty for doing so. Like I could definitely be working till 1 a.m. and starting again at 6. My body wouldn't let me. I'd be way too exhausted. But, you know, there's enough work and enough things that need to be done that I could be working constantly. But especially with my daughter, you know, I have to take that time away to be a mum and to be me as well. Like,
and be a person for you in your own right.
Yeah, I really enjoy walking and hiking. I like going paddling. So I make time for those things. Again, not as often as I'd like to, but, you know, I do have that choice. And yeah, I mean, I can't just cram all my work day into a 9 to 5. That's just not reasonable. And if I want to grow a business and if I want to manage my team and look after them in the way that I want to do and build the legacy for my daughter with, you know, the investments and things like that, then I'm going to have to put in a bit more time than the average 9 to 5. But I still choose to make the time to do things for me as well.
Do you think you could grow a business only committing 40 hours a week? Do you think you could grow and scale a business doing 40 hours?
I mean, somebody somewhere probably says you can.
In your experience, though, is it achievable?
In my experience, not to the extent that we've grown a business since at this current point. You know, like with the property business, I'm putting really very minimal amount of hours into that, especially at this current point. Like when I first started out, I was putting a lot of time in because I sort of said, right, well, I'm going to step away from this business to focus on that one. Yeah. And, you know, I was building some momentum straight away and that was fine. If I could spend 40 plus hours a week on the property business, it'd probably be way, way ahead than it is now.
Yeah.
But that's not my reality because I've got the other thing going on. So, yeah, I think my experience, no, you do need more time. It doesn't have to be within the traditional 40 hours that...
Yeah, not the 9 to 5.
Yeah. Because there's always going to be times where you're doing evening things, morning things, weekend things.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, what's your view on that? That'd be interesting to know, actually.
I'm a work machine. So I have worked in corporate jobs and then owned bars.
Okay.
I've been self-employed and it's consumed my entire life. You know, out of 168 hours, I've worked for 140 of them and slept in the car.
Okay.
Right. While I had children at home waiting for me. Some of that I regret. But ultimately, I have chosen in my life to make sacrifices so that I can advance the financial betterment, not just for myself, because I'm not trying to build wealth for me. I'm trying to build it for legacy wealth for my generations to come. So I see it as I have to step up and I have to take the hit so that my subsequent family generations thereafter don't have to necessarily do that. So I come from a sort of a slightly different perspective. I have absolutely sacrificed being a father to my children in favor of running businesses, which to some degree I have some regret over. But in other degrees, I say, no, actually, that was absolutely the right thing because I came from nothing.
Yeah.
And now we're not from nothing. Now we have property portfolios. Now we have multiple businesses that turn 7 figures. That was not by accident. That was absolute grit, determination, refusing to accept the word no, and not ever sort of quitting, basically. When everyone else is asleep, you're like, how do we get the next sale? What's the next marketing plan? I was off for 2 weeks ill the other week. I couldn't do anything. I was laid flat out. I couldn't do a thing. And my wife, I have to say, was very nice and looked after me. So thank you to my lovely wife, Rachel, for that. But the moment that I became better, I was working till 2 a.m. on search engine optimization strategies. I wasn't coming to work because I wasn't physically able to get into work. I was too tired. I had COVID, I think. But I sort of worked from home, worked on the website, worked on the marketing, worked on the business development, was answering emails in between, doing payroll, that sort of stuff. So, you know, I'm a workaholic. Although I'm financially retired, I don't know what else I would do. So spend time with family. My grandson, my daughter and my son came to see me on Father's Day in June 2025. And it was lovely to see them. But even then, I feel detached because I don't know what to do.
Okay.
So it was lovely to spend an hour with them, 2 hours with them. But after that, I sort of lose the, what do I do now? Because I've got all these things in the back of my head to go. And a lot of people might criticize that. But that's my life.
I can understand that completely. And although I choose to make the time and I don't have regrets for doing that, because to me, that's important to me.
Absolutely.
There's no judgment, obviously, on you for that. But I do get the whole whirring in the back of the mind. I'm, we're out walking the dogs.
This needs doing, this needs doing.
About this and like that idea and, that'd be a great marketing idea. Like, oh yeah, quickly write it down.
Yeah. And then I'll do that tomorrow when I think I've got time, and tomorrow happens and it gets pushed.
My mum and stepdad live in Spain, and we go out once or twice a year, sometimes more if we can, to see them, or at least for longer periods. And I'll be laying on the beach reading a business development book of some description, and they're going, Heather, put the book down, you're not working. And I'm like, yeah, but I also enjoy it,
Yeah, this is a shut off for you as well, right?
And I was asked literally on Father's Day, actually, just gone, I was having a conversation with my in-laws about books that they were reading. They were talking about, sort of fictional, fantasy type books, that sort of thing. And they said, are you reading anything at the minute, Heather? And I just I chuckled to myself and went, yeah, about buying businesses. And they went, oh, great. And I was like, well, if buying businesses is your thing, then yeah, it is great, which it is mine. So,
yeah.
And, that killed the conversation. Obviously.
And they just sort of carried on with the drinking then. Yeah. And that's it. Horses for courses, right?
Yeah. And so, business development, marketing, growth, sales, that's my thing. And, along with hiking and paddling and walking dogs and...
This list is getting bigger.
Yeah, sorry. It's exhausting. Gymnastics and, all this stuff that goes on. And I think that's maybe it's stereotypical, but, I am the woman, I am the wife, I am the mum. And, she probably wouldn't have any dinner or go to swimming lessons. Nothing would be organised if it, I'm the admin for the household.
Yeah, you run the household, right? You're in charge.
Exactly. And maybe that's a difference, and maybe that is stereotypical, and maybe that's not the case for everybody. But that is my reality,
Sure.
And that is, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine.
It's a good point you raised. Yeah, it's a really good point you raised because, show me the perfect parent.
Yeah, you can't be perfect.
Show me the perfect wife. Show me the perfect husband. Show me the perfect life. Well, the thing is, taking a killer whale and putting them in Florida, probably doesn't look that right unless they're in SeaWorld, that sort of thing. What you think is I stand correct. What your husband thinks is a great wife, I might not think is a great wife. What you think is a great husband, my wife might not think is a great husband. You've got to do what works for you and your family. Yeah. And ultimately, who's the ultimate judge of that? It's you and your family.
And you'll be judged by somebody anyway. If you're a stay-at-home mum devoting all your time to your children, then somebody's going to say, oh, you don't work enough, you don't provide for the family.
Right.
But if you work full time and, you know, you're this crazy ass entrepreneur that puts your children in daycare and nannies and boarding school or whatever, then you're awful. How do you not love your children? You're the worst parent ever.
So which one are you?
You can't win. And
yeah.
obviously there's like some mediums in the middle, obviously, but you know, then there's guilt. So,
of course.
Yeah.
And they're powerful emotions as well for parents. You know, they are very powerful because you do want to be there for your children. You want to see the school plays. You want to take them swimming. You want to take them to gym.
Yeah.
You want to take them to football. And you can't because you're trying to build a better life. So it's hard. It depends, I guess, where you start your journey as well. If you come from absolutely zero or minus, there's a lot more road to climb.
I've not started from zero. You know, I've always had a relatively comfortable life. We've never, you know, had nothing, but it was always, you know, living paycheck to paycheck growing up. At least that's my understanding now. Now, you know, understand the world a bit better.
Yeah.
And, you know, we didn't have luxury holidays or anything like that growing up. You might go to Spain abroad once a year,
wow,
or Cornwall camping or something like that. And for some, you know, that's amazing. Like people that have
absolutely, yeah.
Like, so I'm very privileged. But then I also had friends in school that was going to the Maldives, you know, twice a year or something like that. So, you know, it varies, doesn't it?
Well, I can tell you categorically, in the school I went to, we got to go to the park for the weekend in our school. And that was the whole school. You know, that was a big deal. Go in the park or go in the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, that was an incredible experience for us.
Yeah. Okay. No.
So, you know, but that taught us a lot as well. My kids don't have that issue, but growing up, that was my life. And I loved it, by the way. You know, I loved going to the park. It's still my favourite place on earth. To this day, Birkenhead Park is still the favourite place to go. I've been all over the world. So, I want to talk a little bit about networking, because I know you've touched on it a number of times. And I happen to know that you do operate a networking session yourself.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
PPN Peterborough.
That's correct.
Progressive Property Network Peterborough. You're the host.
I am.
And it's on the third Tuesday of every month.
That's correct.
Why is it important, that particular day, in your opinion?
So that was a bit of a strategic business move.
Strategic. Must be smart, this. Go on.
Big words.
The big words are coming out now. The guns are out.
Yeah, so I run a networking event, PPM Peterborough, and I chose to do it on the third Tuesday of the month because Progressive Property is also based in Peterborough. And as you said earlier, you know, they run academies, they run masterminds, and there are two very prominent ones that run each month. You've got the No Money Down Mastermind, which runs on a Monday and a Tuesday. Third Monday and a Tuesday. The
third Monday and a Tuesday, coincidentally, yeah.
And then the academy, the Progressive Property Academy, which is the mastermind, I guess you could say, for the BRRR, the Buy Rent Refurbish Refinance, and that also runs on the third Wednesday.
So you're just smack bang in between three different masterminds.
Yes, because for me, I don't live in Peterborough. I live over near Milton Keynes, so about an hour away from here. Admittedly, when I started the event, I actually did live a bit closer. I was about 30 minutes away in Kettering. But yeah, so for me, I chose Peterborough as a location. I chose the date as to when I did, because networking isn't just about your local area necessarily. It is about the wider community. Now, for me, why did I want to start a networking event? Various reasons: build my personal brand, help boost my confidence, keeps me accountable. Because if I'm running it, I've got to be there.
Have to turn up.
Funnily enough, it's very easy to say, "No, I'm not going to go tonight. I'm too tired." So yeah, you know, so it held me to account, and you know, raise investment, raise money, help other people. So I am, you know, I like to think that I am, you know, quite a kind person, quite a helpful person. If I can help somebody in any way, then I will, if it's within my scope. And I didn't see myself as a mentor or anything like that, especially in the property space. You know, I was quite new to property at this point, but this was a way of me giving back and giving value to people without saying this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, running it on that Tuesday, that third Tuesday, meant that I wasn't just capturing the audience within Peterborough as a location, but also the wider network of people that are attending events at Progressive Property, who, you know, are probably staying overnight anyway, or are arriving early or finishing late, and actually they want to network, and it makes it very convenient for them to do.
Yes.
So, strategically it works well for me, strategically it works well for those attending progressive property training events. And, it means that we have a rather successful event with good solid numbers every single month. We've obviously got people that are coming regularly on a month by month basis, but we also have lots of people that are coming new to the event each month, and either are staying because they're coming to the progressive events anyway, so they're here month on month, or maybe they're just coming for a one-off, and it's an opportunity for them to hear from the speakers that we've got, because we have different keynotes each month on various different topics and expertise. So it's strategic.
So does anybody who wants to come to your event, do they have to have property experience or a property portfolio to come to the event?
No, you don't even necessarily have to be in property. You could be in business in general. You might have other businesses that you're looking for particular keynote topics to cover on, or you're looking for a wider network of people to work with. Property is an industry, but there's lots of things that cross-pollinate,
Of course.
Tradespeople, accountants, solicitors, you're going to find those sorts of people at our events. But you don't need experience in property. We have a plethora of people that come with wide ranges of experience, from not having done their first training event, let alone getting their first deal, right up to people that have built, multiple £1 million portfolios, ground up developments, crazy things. And you think, blimey,
Great to be in a room though, isn't there? If you can give back and share experience and knowledge with other people.
And when I set the event up, I almost felt a bit like a fraud, because at that point I'd been in property for about a year. I'd probably got I think I had 2 properties at that time. And I was like, well, why is anybody going to listen to me? That's that confidence piece coming through again. But actually, I'm the host. I'm there to facilitate people making connections.
You're the gel that brings everyone together, right?
Yeah, and I like to see myself as a bit of a cheerleader. We've got people that come in that are looking for a certain person or a certain skill set or something like that, and I'm like, oh my god, Carl, he's the guy to go speak to, or this person. And I like that. I like connecting people.
Yeah, which is a great skill in itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then sort of become that go-to person for connections.
Yeah,
which will help, in my own business and property journey as well. So, it's. I really enjoy hosting the event.
So the event is held at Katana.
Yeah.
In Peterborough Town Centre.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And if you want to get tickets, you can go to Progressive Property Network Peterborough.
Yeah.
We've got a link below. You can get your tickets there. Do you do any offers on tickets at all?
So if it's your first time attending any Progressive Property Network event, then you can come for £1. You said £1 earlier.
Wow.
We can come for £1. Ticket prices are usually $25, so a very big discount on that. But come check it out, see if it's your thing. Now, what I will say is, networking, like with anything, you need to do it consistently. You're not going to walk in the room and find your £1 million investor and be like, hey, let's do a deal, let's go. It's just not going to happen. You've got to be showing up.
There's a bit of a myth to this, and I'm a network host as well. And I'm used to people coming for one session and never returning, or they'll flip in and out and so on. And to me, as an investor myself, I look for consistency.
Yeah.
How bothered are you about what you're saying you're bothered about, right? So I get people coming into our sessions saying to me, oh, I'm a deal sourcer. We go, great. Have you got your accreditations? And I know, because I was on it recently, a Samuel Leeds course, they were like, don't worry about getting accreditations. You don't need it, and so on and so forth, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And he did show various things from HMRC and other government departments that sort of verified what he said, to be fair, because I was a bit shocked. But these people turn up and then they don't come back again. And then they're probably the same people that go, God, that event's crap. It's like, well, you've got to keep turning up. If you keep turning up, you get your brand established, you get potentially your personal name, your personal brand established. People will start taking you seriously. Yeah. But if you don't show up, then what do people know about you? Well, not very little, other than you came one time to one thing and then you didn't show up anymore.
Yeah. I'm doing business with people that I met 2.5 years ago, but I'm doing it now.
So it's taken
Not
2.5 years.
Yeah, and that's not going to be the case for everybody.
No.
You might meet somebody and have a coffee after and then go for a walk one day and
Do you know, that's a really important point. So there's almost sometimes there's an expectation. It's like, I'm going to meet you at a networking event, which is a 3-hour event. There's going to be a host, there's going to be a keynote speaker, and there's going to be some time for networking. I think a lot of impatient, sometimes younger people, they sort of think, I want to meet you at networking today and we're going to do a deal today. Or tomorrow morning we're going to have a deal and then we're going to exchange and we're going to have millions of pounds.
Fortune's in the follow-up.
Yeah, fortune is in the follow-up. You're absolutely right. It's about keeping in touch with those people.
Yeah.
Social media. Have you got their WhatsApp? Have you got their phone number? Have you got an email address? Are you connected with them on social media? Do you know people in their group? And one of the things I talk to my guys about is, let's say Heather comes up to Liverpool to attend PPN Liverpool. I say, great, Heather's in my network already. We're friends. So when you see Heather commenting or liking on one of my posts, that gives you an opportunity to comment or like as well.
Yeah.
So you're not bombarding Heather with, hey, Heather, I've got this deal. Hey, Heather, have you got any money? Hey, Heather, shall we work together? No. Take some time. You see Heather likes dogs, and every time I post something about my dog, Heather says, oh God, he's so cute, Carl. You could put something on, oh, Heather, have you got a picture of your dog? And Heather goes, God, I remember that guy from PPN Liverpool called John. Let's make up a name. Yes, John, here's a picture of my 2 beautiful Alsatians, German Shepherds. That's how you build the relationship. That's how you build the rapport. It's not about going, oh, hi, Heather, I've just met you. Here's my card. Listen, what deals have you got for me? Yeah. And a lot of people have got that sort of level of, I'll say, impertinence as well as impatience. They just sort of expect, well, I've paid 25 quid. I'm in the room. Hello, give me a deal.
Yeah.
And that's just not how it's made. It's made over consistency. It's made over time, build trust. And then also going afterwards, go for the coffee, attend other events with people. I don't know, what's your experience of that?
Yeah, no, it's showing up. And again, that's one of the reasons why I run the event myself, is to build on that personal brand, because people know my face now because I'm the host of PPM Peterborough. But then I also go to some other networking event in some other part of the country, and they probably know me through what I'm doing there, and I've probably commented on some of their things on Facebook, and they probably saw that video that I put. There's these different touch points. I think
absolutely
like 7 touch points or something that people have before they'll do business or buy or whatever the thing is. So I'm showing up in multiple places, and that is what is working at the end of the day. Just meeting somebody once, shaking their hand and saying, oh yeah, I've got deals, or vice versa.
Here's my card.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. And people lose cards all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I use Linktree personally. I don't have any business cards. I just use Linktree, environmentally friendly, and you get the details and it's stored in the phone, easy stuff, free.
Yes, I use Linktree too, but I do actually keep cards still.
Yeah.
I've also got a picture of my face. So, the brand, the hair, it stands out to people. If they see a picture of a room of people, and they will probably notice me, and
they'll look for you though.
Yeah, exactly.
I know a guy who turns up in a high-vis vest.
Yeah, I know one too, actually.
Instantly recognizable.
Yes.
And when they don't turn up in the high-vis vest, everyone comes up and says, where's your high-vis vest?
Yeah.
I do it on purpose because it sparks the conversation.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you've got to be a bit clever with your marketing, but it doesn't mean cost you with the earth.
No.
So if I want to get my garage equipment maintained or brand new garage equipment installed, I go to
ATEC Garage Equipment Services. You can find us on Google. We have 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot. www.atecges.co.uk is our website. Equally, you can connect with me on social media if you have any questions. I can obviously help there.
Amazing. And then obviously if we want to come to your PPN Peterborough, which is on the 3rd Tuesday of every month, then we go to...
You can go to the Linktree, so it's linktr.ee/PPN Peterborough, and you'll find the ticket links, you'll find the actual website for the event, all the information that's on there. And there's also a link to connect with me on Facebook on there as well.
Fantastic.
But equally, yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm Heather Littleton. I'm on Instagram, Heather Littleton Invests. I'm on LinkedIn. That's the one.
LinkedIn, that's it. We get
all the socials.
All the socials. That's
yeah,
it. Yeah.
I am on LinkedIn. Although I don't use that one so much, I'll be honest.
So if we want to get our garages looked after, if we want to talk about property investment, if we want to come to property networking in the Peterborough area, we've got all the stuff. I'm sure we can put links down for everything. If you provide us with them, we'll be happy to put them on for you.
Yeah.
And just really want to say, Heather, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to a fellow business owner and property, I want to say business owner, but it's more than that, a property crazy person. Because we spend all of this money on properties that we don't even get in the end. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll look forward to meeting you probably at PPN Peterborough.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Carl. Really appreciate it.
Brill.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for tuning in today to the wonderful Heather Littleton, having interviewed on the Lazy Wealth Creation podcast. I mean, lazy is probably not a word I'd attribute to Heather, but I think overall, it just goes to show that creating that cash factory and having other people starting to serve your business for you is one of the most critical lessons I took away from Heather today, because ultimately, of course, the working in the business versus working on the business are two very different mindsets. And already Heather is making great strides with her husband, James, in securing, doubling their revenue stream for this financial year. So for more information, please do click the links below, especially if you're a garage owner. I can personally vouch for Heather and James. They are lovely people. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you at the next episode of Lazy Wealth Creation.